Maxime Bernier is a member of parliament and the head of Canada's newest political party. After more than a decade as a conservative, including as a cabinet minister, Bernier broke away and founded the People's Party of Canada.
We believe in people. We believe that you have the ability, the dignity, and the right to make your own decisions and determine your own destiny.
Bernier calls his form of politics smart populism, and he's confident it will attract voters in the federal elections. I sat down with Maxime Bernier on Parliament Hill to discuss his agenda, his controversies, and the challenges of breaking into a crowded political field. Mr. Bernier, hello.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be with you.
Thank you for having us. So, in terms of your platform, what distinguishes you from your old party now, the Conservatives? We already have many major parties in this country. Why create a new one?
They don't have any conviction anymore. They're doing politics based on focus group. My role as a politician, as a leader, is to bring the best policies based on principle. And we are doing politics based on principles. And the four principles of our party is individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. And all our policies are in line with these principles. That's a huge difference with us and the Conservative and the other party. I'll give you an example. On immigration, they don't want to, all the other political parties, they are asking for more immigrants. What we are looking for is to be sure that the people who are coming here are sharing our Canadian values and Western civilization values like they did in the past. And we want more economic immigrants and fewer refugees. So our policy on immigration, it's a little bit less than the other political parties. And actually, we are in line with the population on that because 49% of the population are asking for fewer immigrants. And the other party, it's always more and more and more. Actually, the government will increase the number of immigrants by 40% next year, from 250,000 a year to 350,000 next year. So we must have a discussion in this country. I'm looking what's happening in Europe, in UK, in Belgium. They have some challenges to integrate their immigrants. And we don't want that in this country. It's a great country, it's a good country. And that's why we need to have the discussion right now, because I want this country to be like that in 25 years. So I'm the only political party who's speaking about fewer immigrants. On the pipelines is very important for this country. It's a part of it will help us to have more prosperity, and we are not able to build a pipeline across this country. We need to use the Constitution. In our Constitution, the Section 9210 is there, so it's a federal jurisdiction and federal responsibility to approve pipelines in this country. But all the other leaders, they don't want to use the Constitution to impose a pipeline on maybe the province of Quebec or BC. We need to have national infrastructure in this country, and we use that clause in the Constitution more than 300 times in the past. We must use it. We must speak about it. We must explain to the population in Quebec and in BC that when you transport oil and gas by pipelines, it is safer for the environment, but also for the population. So I'm the only leader to speak about it and to say in French in Quebec that yes, we need to, after consultation, if the Quebec government is against a pipeline, we need to take the decision at the federal level and impose a pipeline for sure. But the other leaders, they are afraid to use the Constitution to be sure that we'll be able to build a pipeline in this country. On climate change, we have a different policies than the other leader also. So there's a lot of files that were very different than the other political parties.
Let's take a few of those. So immigration, when you say you want immigrants to embrace Canadian values and Western civilization, what does that mean?
Well, it means, equality before the law, equality between men and women, coming here for individual freedom, for free markets. And what I don't want to to change our immigration system. It's a great immigration system, but we need to question and we need to be sure that these people will be able to come and have a job in this country. You know, when you have a new Canadian that is coming as an economic immigrant and that person is having a job, it's easier for that person to integrate our society and they can bring their family. I'm open to that. But right now, we are welcoming more refugees than the US in the absolute numbers. The last 2 years, we were welcoming 40,000 refugees and coming from the state of New York, crossing our border. I don't think that these people are real refugees. And actually, the Department of Immigration said a couple of months ago that 40% of them will have to be deported in 3 years from now because they're not real refugees. So let's help the real refugees that are waiting in a refugees camp in another country, but not people who are crossing the border in Quebec, in the state of New York and Quebec. I think these people, the life is not in danger in the state in New York. So that's for
But they
us.
were coming from other countries where where they say their lives were in danger. And I mean, in my case, my father came from Hungary, occupied by the Soviets after he survived the Holocaust. He wasn't asked to embrace the free market or embrace Canadian values. He was just welcomed here as a refugee because he was fleeing repression. So why do we change the rules now?
We don't change the rule. We want the rules to be applied. It is not fair that we are accepting these people that are crossing illegally our borders and the real refugees are waiting over there and they will wait longer because of that. So that's why we must solve that problem and issue at the border and being sure to help the real refugees like your father. And that's what we want to do. This country is very generous and I'm okay with that and I'm very proud of that. But the fact is, when you have 40,000 people that are crossing the border illegally for a better life, we need to look at it. We need to stop that and help the real people that where their life is in danger.
But if someone's crossing the border in a dangerous, desperate way, is that not right there a sign that they are in need, and we as a compassionate nation should? But
there's a process. That's why it will take 3 years to look at that. Is that person is a real refugee? Some of these people are just destroying their passport before crossing the border. And so we need to do an investigation that is taking times. And when we're doing that, when the federal government is doing that, we're not helping the one that are waiting in a refugees camp. So we need to fix that. And people are losing faith in our immigration system when you have people who are crossing illegally our border. And so I want people to have faith in our system. That's why we need to solve that and helping the people who needs to be helped.
All right, let me ask you about foreign policy.
Yeah.
Canada right now supporting the US-backed coup in Venezuela, recognizing the self-declared president Juan Guaido over the current president Nicolas Maduro. Do you support Canada's policy right now in Venezuela?
Well, what I don't like that policy, as you know, the foreign affairs minister, they had a discussion with Cuba, and so they are asking a communist system. You won't have, why going to Cuba and to help to have a better democracy in a country? That's a little bit weird for me. So what they're doing right now, I think the best way that the government of Canada can help, it's by, first of all, having discussion with our allies. That would be the most important. But we cannot interfere in other sovereign country. That's very important for me. The foreign affairs policy must be based on the security and the prosperity of our country. And if we want to promote Canadian values and freedom and free markets, we can do that by speaking with our allies and with other countries. But try to be part in a sovereign country and imposing our view. I'm not for that. I'm not for that. You cannot being in a process to try to build nation in other country or things like that. Respect the population of our country, the government of our country. Maybe you won't like that government. Cuba is a socialist system, and we must try to have free trade with them and things like that. But I don't want our country to work to change a government. And I think that's respecting the sovereignty of other countries. It's important because we want them to respect our own sovereignty.
So if you were the prime minister today, you would still recognize the Maduro government as the sovereign government of Venezuela, not the Guaido camp that the U.S. recognizes and that Trudeau recognizes.
Yeah. I don't know what I will do. I need to look at it more in details. I don't have a position on that right now. What I'm telling you, it's my foreign policy will be based on the security and prosperity of our country, and which do I will recognize the government right now or the opposition? I don't know. I have to. I didn't have time to look at it, to travel over there, and telling you like that a position. What I'm telling you is I don't want our government to have any military action or things like that in another country. That's very important for me. But answering your question, I don't know what I'll do on that right now. I need to look at it more in details and what's happening. And I didn't have time to follow that because, as you know, I'm campaigning and I'm starting a new party. We built that party 9 months ago. I'm very busy with that. And I didn't have time to look in details in international news and what's happening and having some discussion with some expert on the ground. I want to have that before taking a formal position on that.
How is that going? How is the process of building a new party going for you?
It's going well, better than our expectation. We started that party 9 months ago. The first month we had 28,000 founding members, and now we are around 40,000 members all across the country. We're not a regional party from Quebec, we're a real national party. We have riding associations all across the country. In every riding, that's important. There's 338 riding, and we'll be able to have candidates in every riding also. Before the mid-July, we have now, I think, more than 285 candidates. That's going well. So we'll campaign all across the country, and our campaign will be on a smaller government in Ottawa, more freedom, more prosperity, free trade, opening our borders to foreign investment in the telecom industry, in the banking industry. So we have a lot of bold reforms that we think need to be done, and we'll do it. So now our challenge is to travel across the country and speak about what we believe, and that's what I'm doing. I'm campaigning since the beginning of that party. And at the same time also, if you are a party, you need members, you need organization, you need to be able to raise money. And we are able to raise money. It's going very well. We have a head office here in Gatineau with people who are working full-time for the party. And why we are able to build this party so fast, I think it's because it's based on values and principles and bold policies, and we don't do any compromise with our principles. And I think people appreciate that. And when people are saying, some journalists are saying Bernier is a populist politician, I'm saying, yes, maybe, but call me a smart populist politician, because our reforms are based on serious reforms, serious policies, and we don't try to appeal to the emotion of Canadians. We try to appeal to their intelligence and try to inform them about healthcare, about immigration, about a smarter government, about balancing the budget. Why it's so important? We're the only party who wants to balance the budget in 2 years. The Conservative, the Liberal, they want to spend, and more. They think that spending money will bring prosperity, but it is not.
When you say, though, you're not trying to appeal to people's emotions, I mean, you said some very controversial things about immigration, about diversity.
About radical multiculturalism.
Radical, that reads to me like you're trying to appeal to people's emotions, because people have strong feelings towards people who are different than them, and there are fears of immigrants, and one could look at your campaign and say that that's what you're doing.
No, because I said radical multiculturalism, and that's important. What's happening right now, the federal government and Justin Trudeau personally said that diversity is our strength. That is motive, that is slogan. And for me, I said unity It's our strength. What unites us, different people coming from different countries and building this country. This country has been built by Francophone, by Anglophone, First Nation. After that, immigrants from Europe, immigrants from Africa, from Asia. We build this country together. What the strength of our country is what unites us. It is not our diversity.
Why make it mutually exclusive? Why make unity? Why make it unity versus diversity? Why can't those two coexist?
No, but what I'm saying, what's happening right now, it's the federal government is taxing Canadians and using tax money to promote an extreme diversity. I'm giving you an example. You know, if it's the Chinese year, why the federal government will spend money and giving that to a Canadian Chinese community to celebrate the new Chinese year? You know, if they want to do that, they can do it. I don't have any problem with that. It's okay, they can do that. But try to celebrate what unites us, our history, our culture, our values, and we must use the government money, the people's money to do that. So that's why it's always, and they're doing that. Why? Because they're pandering to these people for having their votes. I don't play that. I don't play. I'll give you an example.
Is that what it's about? You think it's about pandering to different communities for votes? It's not just about celebrating the different cultures that make the country special, and that
why, if they want to celebrate that, they can do it, and we're in a free country. But you know, now the government is using the multiculturalism legislation to try to buy votes. I'll give you an example. I was with the Muslim community in Toronto, and during my leadership campaign. And they told me, Mr. Bernier, you're the only candidate that didn't have an interview with us. You will come to Toronto, we'll have an interview. We have the same questions for every candidate, and you'll be the last one. And because we have about 5,000 of our people that are members of the Conservative Party of Canada. And maybe if you want their votes, it's important. So I went there, and I had a good discussion. I answered all the questions. And at the end, they asked me the last question. And the lady said, it's the most important question. Our members will read that question first to decide for which candidates they want to vote. So if you want to think about it, take some time. If you want to go back to Ottawa and writing your answer, do it. I said, what is the question? She said, what you will do for the Muslim community? I look at her, I said, nothing. I will do nothing for the Muslim community. I won't do nothing for the Jewish community. I won't do nothing for the Christian community. I'll do everything for you as a Canadian. And my policy is for you as a Canadian, and I'm working for all Canadians. That's a big difference. And she looked at me, she said, that's the first time I'm hearing that, but I like your answer. But all the other, what you're going to do for me as you're a Canadian for me, and you're a proud Canadian, and I'm a proud Canadian, and I have policies that will help every Canadian. I don't try to do that. And I won't do that. But the other party, they try, are they going to tell you what you want to hear to be sure to have your vote? Maybe I'm not telling you what you want to hear. And that's why I'm saying I'm appealing to the intelligence of Canadians. I'm not telling you what you want to hear. When I'm speaking about the healthcare system, changing that. If you look at the survey, 50% of the population, they don't want any changes in that. So I'm doing politics differently, because if only 10% of the population is on board of one of our policy, for me it's a challenge. When you have the great ideas based on freedom and free markets and personal responsibility, the basis of the Western civilization, when you're speaking about freedom, you have the best idea. And we have the best idea, and you need to explain that to the population. So if I have only 10% of Canadians that are on a subject on more freedom or things like that, I'll speak about it. But the other politicians, they won't. They will wait until they have 40% of the population. They don't want to displease anybody. I know that when you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody. So yes, I'm saying to Canadians who doesn't like our policies, it's okay. You can vote for other leaders. That's okay. That's democracy. We have a strong point of view and based on principle, and we're doing politics based on principle. And you know, it's good to have the right ideas, but it's better to have the right ideas at the right time. And I think for us, it's the right time right now.
When you talk about treating all communities equally,
yeah,
sounds great on paper, but I'm wondering, are you not ignoring the structural inequities and discriminations that exist against certain communities? So for example, take the Muslim community. they have to deal with hate crimes in ways that other communities don't. Your own province, Quebec, there was a mass shooting a few years ago.
Yeah.
So in saying that you'll treat everybody equally, I get it. Principle sounds great, but I'm wondering how you feel about concerns that in the process you're basically sweeping under the rug unique challenges that and issues and injustices that communities like the Muslim community face.
But the Muslim community, the Jewish community, they are facing, I think, challenges. I agree with you. But the goal is to speak loudly about that and to speak to the population and to educate the population. And that's what I'm doing, everybody, you're Canadians, and yes, you can have the Black community also can have some challenges, and so I know that. But what I want to do, I want to explain when it's based on freedom and personal responsibility and free markets and respect. One of our principles is respect, individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. We must respect each other, and that's what I'm saying. But I agree that some community must have bigger challenges than others. But it's the role of a politician to speak about it loudly, and that's what I'm doing.
In terms of history, you came out recently against a proposal to have a day marking the history of residential schools in Canada. The legacy there of Indigenous children being taken from their families, put in these schools where they were subjected to really harsh, abusive treatment. Why oppose a commemoration of that history?
Well, the most important is to help them, and we had a commission on that, and they tabled a report, and we must look at the recommendation. But the best thing to help.
But one of the recommendations was to have commemorations, to have honoring of the legacy.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, it's the government is there. If we have commemorate day on every subject, it won't be special anymore, and that's something. It's a kind of thing that's okay. I think we have a national day for. If you look at what my point of view is, I'm not voting on this special day every time. So that's my principle. So I voted against that day. I voted against another day for. I think it was. If you look at all the votes, every 2 months we have a vote on a special day for a special thing. So you look at and so my principle is I don't play that game. I don't vote for that, but I will help these people, and I will try to be sure to the government give the right money and the right incentive and the right infrastructure to help these people. But for me, my principle, a motion on a special day for that, no.
If somebody wanted to revoke Remembrance Day, would you support that?
That's it's a good question. I don't think so. I don't want to rewrite the history. So
keep the current days we have. Just don't add any more.
But keep the one that we had a couple of years ago. But now it's like it's very popular to have a day for something, and I think no, I won't vote for any change, but I won't vote for a new one also.
Are you sympathetic, though, to voices from the Indigenous community that will say Canadians are on what is initially our ancestral lands, and so the more acknowledgement of the historical crimes and injustices, the more civilized actually the country will be, because it's actually honoring the people who were first here and honoring the overlooked history and the very painful history that they endured.
Well, what I want to do for them, I'm going further than that and deeper than that. I think the challenge at the First Nation that they have, it's they are not treated equally like Canadians, and we still have the Indian law in this country. So we must do good consultation. We must be sure that on reserve they will have property rights on reserve. We must fight for them. And why we have poverty on reserve? Because we don't have property rights first, and we need to change that. We need to address that. But I'm the only one we have a strong policy on that. So yes, maybe property rights on reserve, and second, to look at the abolition of the Indian Act. That will be huge for them. And if you want to treat them equally with Canadians. We must start by that. Actually, we'll have a policy on that in a month from now on the relationship with the First Nation, and that will be very different. Which, the federal government now is controlling the First Nation on reserve. First of all, we must respect the treaty that we signed with them, and the one that are still on reserve, we must have a new kind of government and we must abolish the Indian Act. We must look at having a kind of more delegation of power to them. I think that's the reform that we need to do. We need to address, but the other party, they don't want to speak about that. So that's why I'm saying I'm focusing on real reform.
You're pretty upfront with your views,
Yeah.
Even views that are controversial.
Yes.
Do you think that politicians have gotten away with sort of hiding what they actually believe for too long? I'm wondering if that's partly what motivates you here in breaking out to build a new party.
I think, politicians are too politically correct. And the political correctness, when I'm saying that the Conservative Party of Canada, they are doing survey to know what they believe in, because they don't know what they believe in, they don't believe in real conservative values anymore, they're doing survey. But after that, the worst, they're doing focus group to know which word they will use to sell their reform. So I think it's why people are fed up with that. People, they want a politician that will tell the truth, what they think is the truth, and being responsible of that and being out there. And that's why you have some, or in other countries, some movement that people are looking for a new kind of leader that will speak. If you believe in that, come with me. If you're not, you can vote for another party, it's okay. But you can go on my website. Our policies are there, our principles are clear, and I think the population is there right now. They don't trust politicians, and they don't trust them because they know that they will say something a day and maybe the opposite the other day. So for me, if you look at what I'm saying right now, building this party, our platform is based on speeches that delivered the last 10 years. So what people appreciate from us, it's our authenticity. You like it or not. But, I'm saying what I believe in, and I hope I'll be able to convince a lot of people. I'm speaking with conviction and passion, and that's what I like in politics. But yes, I think people are fed up with the traditional politician that won't be able to call a cat.
Maxime Bernier, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks.